My name is Lois Wendt, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Crystal, New Hope, and East Plymouth. The League of Women Voters encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Presenting this information tonight will be Superintendent Aldo Sicoli, Jeff Price, Executive Director of Business Services, and Dennis Beekman, Executive Director of Technology. Please silence your cell phones during this evening's meeting. Dr. Sicoli, Mr. Beekman, and Mr. Price will take questions from the audience after they have completed their presentation. Please write your questions on one of the cards provided and hand it to a league member. We do reserve the right to consolidate questions if there are several on one issue, so that as many issues as possible be covered. Our intention is in good faith to select questions that represent the interests expressed by the audience. Please do not submit questions on personal matters unrelated to these issues or for the purpose of making a statement rather than gaining information. Superintendent Sicoli.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you. I'm Aldo Sicoli, Superintendent of Robbinsdale Area Schools. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Obviously, I think it's critical in a democracy that the people make informed decisions when they go to vote, and you're taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here tonight, and so we really appreciate that. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this event here tonight and all they do for the community. I would also like to recognize some people here tonight. We have some school board members here, so I believe I've seen our board chair, Sherry Terrell, and we have Linda Johnson and Patsy Green and Mark Bombchill and John Vento. I don't think I've seen the other board members, but if you're here, I'm sure you'll let me know about it. I'd also like to introduce our staff. Ms. Wendt has said a couple names of the names of the other presenters. This is Jeff Priest, our Executive Director of Business Services, and Dennis Beekman, our Executive Director of Technology. I would also like to introduce Letitia Gray, our Marketing and Communications Program Director. Letitia will be reading your questions a little later in the evening. But again, thank you for being here, to be informed. I'm going to turn it over to my two colleagues here to give the actual presentation. So I'll ask Jeff Priest to get us started.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight too. I'll start out here with the, this is the informational piece that our communications department has put together regarding the two questions. And just kind of a snapshot of the school district, 12,000 students served, grades pre-K through 12, 10 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, 2 high schools, and 1 alternative high school. We serve all our parts of 7 different communities, and our mission is to inspire and educate all learners to develop their unique potential and positively contribute to their community. As was mentioned, we do have 2 funding requests on the ballot for November 4. I will probably say this 10 times during this presentation. That question 1, no tax increase renewal of the existing operating levy. And question 2 is to add a technology levy, which is also called, with other school districts, a capital projects levy. So the question 1 facts is to renew the existing operating levy. If I haven't said it, no tax increase if approved by the voters. And so these dollars are used to help maintain our lower than average class sizes. They fund daily school and district operations, classroom supplies, my salaries, teacher salaries, building maintenance and transportation. And it's a significant piece of revenue in that it provides $20 million per year, which is about 13% of our total general fund operating budget. So again, why do we have this question on the ballot? This referendum expires with the 16-17 school year. Again, it's 13% of our budget. You can see the big chunk of the pie there, the dollars that the referendum generates. And then to put it in perspective, What's $20 million on our budget? It's the equivalent of 225 teachers or the entire staffing costs of 5 of our elementary schools. So if approved, it'll help us maintain our lower than average class sizes. It'll sustain our range of quality educational programs in the district. It'll help us maintain a balanced budget, which we've been able to do the last 4 or 5 years. And again, if I haven't said it, it's a no tax increase question. So it's a renewal of the existing operating referendum. And if we look at our class sizes, this is information from the Metro XU, so looking at the Metro averages, you can see that at each level, elementary, middle school, and high school, we are consistently below the Metro average. And again, if it's not approved, we'd lose that 13%, beginning with the 16-17 school year. We'd begin planning for $20 million in budget reductions for the 16-17 school year. And again, just to put it in perspective, we don't know what those cuts would look like, but $20 million is the equivalent of 225 teachers or the entire staffing costs of 5 of our elementary schools. Question 2, Dennis.
Before I begin this segment, I just want to recognize another school board member who walked in here, Tom Walsh. So Tom is here tonight as well. So. The second question that will be on the ballot this November, we're asking the communities to support a technology levy. Our school district is one of the few in Hennepin County without a voter-approved capital project levy to provide funds for technology and to support technology in schools. There are 15 school districts in Hennepin County. 11 of those districts have such a levy in place. The ones that currently do not would include Minneapolis, Robbinsdale, and smaller districts such as Brooklyn Center and St. Anthony. We have a comprehensive technology plan in place in the school district, and that particular plan has been vetted by the Department of Education at the state in order for it to be on the ballot, and there'll be language to that on the ballot as well. But what we're seeking is stable funding to fully implement a comprehensive technology plan district-wide to support student learning. We definitely believe technology is necessary in our schools today to help prepare students to thrive in our digital world, to be career and college ready in today's world. Certainly we're looking to increase technology access for students and staff, supporting personalized learning and keeping schools on par with neighbors. This particular graph is comparing our levy request with the 11 Hennepin County districts that have such a levy in place right now. And right now we currently don't have a levy in place. And this particular graph is showing the amount of levy dollars per student. So if we successfully pass the levy, it would generate approximately $285 per student. And not only would it completely fund our comprehensive technology plan for the district, but this graph also demonstrates we would do so in a fiscally responsible way as well. This particular slide shows what year one of the plan would look like if the levy were approved. And what this shows is that the bulk or the majority of the funds would be used to provide technology directly for our schools. It would impact students in classrooms. As I said before, it's supporting a comprehensive technology plan. So all students in all schools will benefit from the levy. It also will be supporting our personalized learning initiative, which many of you may know about, where we are rolling out one-to-one devices in support of personalized learning in our schools. And last year we rolled that out at the 5th grade, and this year we're in process of doing that in grades 6 through 8. So it would fund that as well. A large component, as you'll see on the next line there, has to do with training. Technology in and of itself doesn't do much for learning, but put it in the hands of a trained teacher, a trained professional that knows how to use that to get the most out of student achievement. That's very, very important to the success of the plan, and we have funds dedicated for that as well, and then there's a small amount for infrastructure there too. So if approved by voters, we definitely would see increased access to up-to-date technology. Our classrooms would be modern and stay modern, and definitely we believe that if approved, it would support more efficient and effective ways of teaching, helping teachers manage student learning, providing instant feedback where those tools are very important, to provide instant feedback to students on their assessments and assignments. It allows students and teachers to customize their learning environment, to adapt to their learning style, giving students more learning options, and certainly providing access to information anywhere and anytime. So some examples of what you might see in our classrooms with a fully funded technology plan. You would walk into one of our schools and you would see a lot of collaboration. Instead of isolation, you would see collaboration where students would be working together on projects using Google Apps or other tools to be able to collaborate on assignments, to communicate with experts, to communicate with their teachers, to expand basically their learning environment beyond the walls of the school. You'll see it to individualize education at times where a student that has mastered certain concepts can move on to the next lesson while the teacher's working with other groups of students. So it allows that personalized learning environment and becomes a very effective way of doing it. One of the takeaways here is that these sorts of examples are happening in our schools, but with a fully funded technology plan, these type of examples could apply to all of our students consistently and with fidelity across the entire district. So if the levy is not approved, what we would see is over time, we would see a widened technology gap between our district schools and neighboring districts. I think over time, as more and more resources are digital and the world is becoming digital, we would see barriers to online classroom learning that would limit students' experience. We are in the process of personalizing learning for our students through our strategic plan, and without all the tools needed to do that, we think we would see delayed and less personalized feedback for students, less efficient and effective instructional time, reduced productivity if equipment cannot be maintained and those kind of things. And then lastly, I think what would happen is that we would strive to maintain basic levels of technology in our schools, but it would be coming from other sources of revenue through a priority setting process where other important things in the school district would not get done. So again, the tax impact. Question one, as Jeff said, it is a straight renewal of an existing operating levy, so the monthly tax increase would be zero, no increase. And the tax impact for question two, on a median value house in the school district of $195,000 would be $7 per month. A little bit of financial background. The school board has made more than $18 million in budget reductions since 2000 to maintain a balanced budget. Operating levies are basically a very commonplace and really the cost of doing business in our environment. As of last year, every metro area school district has an operating levy in place to support their general operations. 21st century classrooms do require up-to-date technology equipment, support, and infrastructure. All of those are necessary and should go hand in hand. And these requests are not something that was quickly decided and put on the ballot. It was based on a thoughtful, deliberative process going on for probably well over a year, where we're reviewing district finances, our technology needs. We surveyed the community in terms of what they thought. and looked at all kinds of funding options before the board unanimously decided to put both requests on the ballot. So again, the operating levy is a renewal, not an increase, and the capital project levy that provides funds for technology is lower than most of our neighboring districts. There is a lot of information on the website. So if you're looking for something specific, it's probably there. And that ends the official presentations.
Now is the time for your written questions. Please raise your hand if you need a card to write questions on or have a question to be picked up. No. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll get started. There are a couple of that she's given me so far. I think you keep students from abusing Chromebooks. Are you concerned that students may be careless and damage them?
Taking care of public resources such as Chromebooks is important. We insure the device, and we ask families to contribute to an insurance fee to cover the device for accidental damage or theft.
Okay. Not sure who will answer this one, but if question 1 does not pass this year, can it be passed in 2016?
If question 1 does not pass, the school board may decide they may vote to go out again to try to pass it before it expires. Obviously, they haven't taken any action in that regard now. I can't speak for the school board. They do their own thing, but I would imagine that if it didn't pass, they would want to go out again because of the magnitude of the cuts that would be made if this existing levy expires.
What additional training is being offered to teachers on the new technology?
As I said before, training is really, really important, especially as we roll out large implementations like the one-to-one. We spent over a year in planning and actually started training our middle school staff for the rollout of the Chromebook this fall. And we spent many days over the course of the last term training teachers. We had an ambassador program in place at the middle school where we had teacher leaders apply to be ambassadors for the program. They received extra training, and they piloted these things already fourth quarter of last year. In August, we spent even more time with all staff and all teachers, and instructional coaches in each building spent time with these teachers to train not only the technology, but the effective way of using the technology to teach. So it was really the instructional approach of how best to use the technology to affect student achievement. And ongoing support will happen through what we call PLCs, or personal learning communities, which exist in the school environment already. They meet regularly to deal with student achievement issues, to find out ways of collaborating to basically raise student achievement. And ongoing technology support will be aligned to that as they need to use the technology for doing that. The training would come through that avenue.
You can just hold it for a minute, Dennis. I've got a few more for you. This one says, curious about how this money will be spent on question 2. Will kids take iPads home beginning at what age? Will there be training with the parents? And will they be returned at the end of the year?
Okay, back to the slide that had the year one budget on it. The overall levy will support a comprehensive technology plan, which will support all technology, but specifically the question seems to be asking about the one-to-one devices. First of all, right now we've focused on Chromebooks, not iPads. They're currently being taken home in grades 5 through 8. And as of right now, that's where we're at. Future rollouts will be dependent on resources and future plans. And what was the last part of the question?
Will they be returned at
Yes.
the end of the year?
Yeah, they're returned at the end of the year to make sure that we have controls in place to protect the assets, make sure they're in good shape. We know who had it. We have insurance on the devices, so we reconcile all that at the end of every school year.
So then it's the current technology plan, which we believe would be fully funded
If approved, we would basically be rolling out the next phase into our high schools. It may or may not be Chromebooks because we're going to look specifically at the educational need at the high school, and we would start that, and we would anticipate with a successful levy that would be rolled out next fall in grades 9 through 12.
Okay, and here's another one. Question 2's goals are vague and unmeasurable. How will we, the voters, be able to evaluate the results? How do we know there won't be further gaps given how much technology can change in 10 years?
The current technology plan does have measures in place to measure the specific goals that exist in the technology, but again, like I said before, technology in and of itself is not the goal here. We would measure success by the success of our strategic plan and student achievement.
Okay, another technology levy. Will they replace any funds currently allocated to technology?
I believe it would probably, the capital dollars that we expend right now currently to support our technology plan, these levy dollars would probably replace that and get us to fully implement the plan.
Okay. They're all technology, so. Maybe Aldo can answer this one, but technology for students receiving special education services is key to their success. What is the plan for introducing increased technology options to this portion of our student body?
First of all, special ed students are very important students and carry equal weight as any of our students do. But for those that might not be familiar, they are basically what's very important to the education of a special ed student is an individual education plan. So we consult that. We work with their teachers that know what's right for them. And our goal would be to strive to provide technology within that, that structure.
Okay. On technology, what security measures are being taken to avoid hacking? Windows versus Macs, then it says Chrome versus iPads, etc.
So security, we have a security plan in place, and it's industry standard type of security plan that's in place. We have not been hacked in our environment. So, right. Yeah, I mean, one never knows completely. But there's different levels and different firewalls that are in place to protecting certain types of information that we have out there. So we also isolate those sorts of things as well. So I believe we're taking precautions in that environment as well. We're also working as we work with students, especially younger students, to talk about online protocol and online security, and how to create a good password, how to those kind of things that are lifelong things that we all need to learn and pay attention to as well.
Well, this is technology, but it's dealing with funding, so maybe Jeff can answer this. Will you provide what the technology cost will be for homes of values other than $195,000?
I can answer that one too.
Okay.
There is a tax calculator that is online now, or not yet, or will
It's
be.
online.
Is online. There's a tax calculator online at ardell.org under referendum. You can plug in your property value, and it will specifically tell you the tax impact of your property.
Okay, question 2. Is this a 10-year levy, and does it raise $3.5 million per year?
Yes, that's correct.
If question 2 is approved, separate card, will the district receive more money per student for open enrolled students? Question 2 is approved.
No, with the technology levy, it's based on a rate per tax capacity, so it's not student count related.
If question 1 does not pass, what will the class sizes become?
Higher than they are now. We don't know exactly how high, because to come up with a list of $20 million after $18 million of cuts have happened in the last 14 years is, I don't know what that would look like. And that's a long process. And if this fails, we will have to start engaging in that process, because we'd be facing the real possibility that the current levy could expire. But class sizes would have to go up significantly. Because we are a people industry. About 80% of our costs are in salaries and benefits. Since there have been those $14 million or $18 million of cuts made in the last 14 years, obviously you try to make the kind of cuts that have less impact, negative impact on students, so those cuts have already been made. There's not a whole lot else to cut. But then there's also the other very real situations with class sizes, is that classrooms can also only hold so many students. And I would say this too, my prediction, I hope it's not, my prediction is that if this expired, the cuts would really be greater than $20 million to balance the budget. That's because I think we would have families leaving the district, because it would be a dire situation. We would get less revenue, and the cuts would be even greater.
If either question fails, what would it cost for the district to go out again and put a question on the ballot in 2015?
Well, it costs a lot of time and resource of personnel, that's for sure. In terms of the actual cost of conducting an election, I don't know what those are, and I think it depends somewhat on when that election would be, right?
So I think on an off year, I would guess, looking at what we've paid in the past, maybe $45,000–$50,000 to run the election.
Great. Another technology. What are some examples of how students benefit or experiences that they are having with technology in the classroom now?
So the first thing that jumps into my mind is a story that I heard just this morning when one of our staff was talking about a student experience. It's particularly, it has to do with the one-to-one and how there are opportunities to communicate with the teacher and with others in their own way. This happens to be a student that has some challenges, has some social challenges, and their teacher and parents both said that that student is really blossoming because of the fact that this is a new way for her to communicate and to express herself. I also believe that it definitely impacts student achievement, where you have people that, students that are gifted in a particular area, maybe not in all your areas, and the way that the curriculum is delivered through our learning management system allows them to accelerate their learning while the teacher is working with a large group of other students. The teacher is in full control of what that student is doing, but it allows both the student and the teacher to manage a situation where they can use their time to learn what's next, not what they already know. I think that's a couple of examples. I think technology is being used to kind of open up the school walls, where I've seen classrooms interact with scientists from NASA in a teleconference, those kind of things, to open their eyes to see what science and technology can do. These would be students in grades 3 and 4, perhaps, and it garners interest. I would say the other big thing, as we're looking at the middle school environment and personalized learning, when we're looking at the access points, one of the nice things that this really does is puts the student basically in control of their learning, where they feel empowered to learn, and that's a big thing as well. So those are some examples that come to mind.
Maybe this is for Superintendent Sicoli. What, if any, additional funds will be used for increasing sports and other after-school activities? Why are sports the first thing to be cut?
Well, I can't say that these funds would be used for athletics. That hasn't been determined. In fact, I would, without having spoken with anyone else, would assume that we would not increase our sports offerings. But, you know, again, the existing operating levy funds all our existing operational things. Okay, sports included. Now, if we're going out for the same amount that we have now, and if it passes, each year we look at reallocations and what makes sense to do better by our students. We haven't looked at increasing sports at the expense of something else. So I don't know that that's going to come and rise to the top. In terms of why are sports the first to be cut, I don't know if they are always the first to be cut. I think it depends on a given district situation. I value sports, and not just sports, but all other co-curricular activities, whether it's music, theater, or whatever, very highly, because I think, and I refer to them, but with what I think is not only the most common term, but the most appropriate term, they are co-curricular, not extracurricular. They are with the academic subjects because they make a big difference in students' lives. And they also help their academics. And I was just reading an article today about physical activity and how that helps the brain and how it helps you learn better. So by no means do we take any of those co-curricular activities lightly. And when school boards are in the situation of having to think of reducing them because of budget considerations, I assume every one of those school boards don't take that lightly. Because if they didn't have real benefits for kids, we wouldn't have those programs. Thank you for these very thoughtful questions.
Here's another technology funding question. Is there an option of partially funding the technology levy? If technology is implemented, what requirements will be put on teachers to utilize this? So it's actually two questions.
We have a technology plan in place, and we're implementing it, not fully. If the levy doesn't pass, we would be in kind of in the same place we are now, struggling to find ways of implementing it. So the levy itself is a question, and it either stands or fails as the question is on the ballot. If it successful or not, we do expect our teachers to use the technology that they have available to them. There are we certainly need to provide the training for them. We need to follow up with supports, and then we put into place checks to make sure that we believe that they're using it the way it's intended to be used. So there is some accounting built into that. There's accountability built into the teacher review by the principal as well in a holistic way in terms of them delivering instruction well in their classrooms.
I think this one is, you've partially answered this before. Robbinsdale Area Schools has 12,000 students. What technology expenses are there for kindergarten, elementary, middle, and high school?
Again, looking at the levy and what the levy would fund, thinking about students in grades K through 4, they would have access to tablets that would exist in the school, not to take home with them, but that exist in the schools and in the classrooms. They would have, especially at the younger grades, access to smart tables, and certainly our classrooms have smart boards, and we would enhance the curriculum around the smart boards for those students. In all of our schools, we still have fixed computer labs that are necessary for some whole group instruction and for some assessments. They would benefit from that. Their teachers would benefit from the upgraded technology in their classrooms as well. As I said before, the personalized learning initiative is in grades 5 through 8. We hope to have plans to bring that all the way through 5 through 12. In that particular case, all students would directly benefit from the one-to-one program in different ways as well. So yeah, I would say that's.
Is it correct that if question 2 passes, the money for technology in the current budget will be moved to the general fund? Will technology then only come from question 2?
Basically, the way this budget is set up right now, we're funding from a couple of sources, but obviously the equipment side of the house is coming from the capital fund, and support for training and for teachers and supplies and maintenance items and so forth is coming from the general fund. We would envision that the training and the equipment and those sorts of things, the supplies and parts would be coming from the levy.
This one, maybe Jeff, you can clarify this. It's saying why do you talk about closing 5 elementary schools, but I don't think you said that. You're not planning on closing any schools, right?
No, when we have that slide, I think it's on there a couple of times where we talk about, it's just to put, what's $20 million? We just want to put that in perspective from our total general fund operating budget. So we just say it's $20 million is the entire staffing costs of 5 elementaries or 225 teachers, but it does not mean that that's the way that the budget cut would go, as Superintendent Scully mentioned. Class size obviously if we lose $20 million, probably would be increased. But we've done no planning beyond that. So.
I would just add that although we haven't had these discussions, I think it would be incredibly difficult to close any schools. Because if you're not aware, schools are incredibly tight right now because we closed 3 schools several years ago to save money in difficult budget times, and then things change. So one of the things that changes, of course, this year, universal all-day kindergarten, which makes it even tighter in our schools. So, given how we don't always have pleasant weather in Minnesota, I don't think we can conduct classes outside. I think it would be highly unlikely that we would close any schools.
If you are using question 2 for technology and putting the old money in the general fund, is question 2 really a technology levy?
So there, and feel free to jump in on any of them. Would you rather?
Go ahead, start.
Okay. Some of that money could be used for things that we are spending out of other pots of money. As Dennis said earlier, though we have the general fund that's operating and we have the capital fund. So the technology, the equipment and stuff, that has to be capital. So that can't be moved into, so if we use some of that for new capital, like expanding Chromebooks into grades 9 to 12, fine. If we use it to replace some of what we're doing out of the capital, that frees up money to do other things like roofs, leaky roofs, and parking lots, and deferred maintenance in our buildings, which are all very important. And Jeff, I've heard him say so many times, our list of necessary things for our facilities is much larger than the money we have for that. Now, there are some other things that because we don't have a technology levy, like professional development for the teachers on how to use technology, that comes out of the general fund. So whether or not we end up using any of the technology money for that, hypothetically it could be. So, yeah, theoretically it could be a combination of you're replacing some current, you're freeing up more current capital dollars, you're freeing up more current operating dollars, and you're adding technology dollars on top of that. And the exact mix of that, I don't know, but that's how you can use the money.
Yeah, and I would just say that when we get into our capital budget planning each year, and truly, I do say the list of prioritized needs is like this, and our funding is basically like this. So what we've been able to do the last couple of years is devote some additional dollars for technology, but that means, the roof at Noble, gee, that can make it one more year. So we just push that down the road. And we can't do that forever. And I did hear tonight when I walked in here that, was it the late 90s? We spent about $140 million in deferred maintenance. We had ignored some of the buildings, and we can't do that. So if the roof's leaking, we've got to fix that. If we have 3 roofs, we've got 5 parking lots we need to do. Then it's, hey, Dennis, we aren't going to be able to do technology this year. So the reason for the tech levy is just to give us that sustain, that flow of revenue, so we can sustain the technology expenditures.
The League of Women Voters is proud of its history of citizen education in our communities and hosted this meeting to help you make an informed decision as you vote. Leagues have studied school financing many times in the past 4 decades. Briefly, a consensus of League of Women Voters in Minnesota states support for the concept of the foundation formula in financing education, and that any revisions should include, among others, allowing districts to raise a limited amount of additional funds for supplemental programs through local levies to maintain local choice and ensure local accountability. This would include asking voters to vote on these proposals. The election will be held on Tuesday, November 4th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you are not a registered voter, you may register at the polls if you have been a resident of the state for at least 20 days before the election, have a valid Minnesota's driver's license, learner's permit, or Minnesota identification card, or a receipt of any of these, or a utility bill showing your correct address in the precinct. There are many ways to vote in addition to at your precinct location on November 4th. You may vote early at your city office or vote absentee without excuse. Please go to the Secretary of State's website, mnvotes.org, for additional information. If a member of this audience or our cable TV audience feels an issue has not been adequately addressed, the League of Women Voters urges you to contact the Robbinsdale area schools directly. There is a table in this room with printed information regarding these referenda and information about registering to vote and about the League is on a table outside this room. Also, our upcoming events. Thank you for your attendance this evening. I'd like to invite you to attend the school board forum to be held in this location on Thursday, October 9th at 7 o'clock p.m. That's tomorrow evening. Robbinsdale Area Schools Media Services presented this evening's information on their cable channel. It will be replayed on Channel 22 on the following dates: Tuesday, October 14th at 7 o'clock p.m., Wednesday, October 15th at 8:00 a.m., Friday, October 17th at 1:00 p.m. There will be additional time slots added. Thank you for your attendance.